Welcome back, y'all, to another episode of New Zealand as Texas, the Loathsome Things, a horror movie podcast. My name is John, and with me as always, I'm sorry, I'm an idiot. With me as always is my co-host Josh. Josh, how are you doing, sir?
I'm fine. I couldn't be any better if it was a World War III, if you know what I mean.
Oh my God.
I've seen them all.
Make me feel good.
Except in my jolly place.
I think me balls are down by me ankles.
I don't know why Why me? What's the me thing? I don't know what that...
Me. R.
He needs... What is it? Talkies? What is it called?
I think he calls something else talkies.
Oh yeah, talkies is something else. It's testicle socks. What were they called? Talks?
Oh, yeah. It was that was our offshoot of the brosier is talks.
No, it was Brelt.
Brelt, that's right. Yeah, Brelt. Brelt for up here and then talks to tuck one's testicles into.
Hi, folks. Thanks for joining us.
Good.
Oh.
I forgot about talks and Brelt.
So, so what the hell are we doing? Well, what are we doing today?
Today, John, you decided, quite wisely and insightfully I might add, that we're going to review Ty West's X.
Oh, yeah. The first movie that Ty West made that I actually like a lot.
Nice. Yeah, I was looking at his filmography, as it were, and I was like, yeah.
All his horror movie. Well, he's a horror movie guy, but his movies, all the ones I've seen, are worth watching. None of them really hit me that hard. I like the aesthetic in pretty much all of them. He's got a great visual sense. I just never really felt like the story worked that well. And this story is so bare bones, but it works.
It works beautifully. Like, this is definitely going to catapult him up into the echelons, as it were.
Yeah, it's crazy. This was made. Well, it was made in New Zealand, as we were talking about, although it's set in Texas, and it's obviously, at least in part, influenced by the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
A few parts.
Just a touch. And it was shot during the pandemic, and it was shot back-to-back with its sequel, Pearl, which is about one of the characters in the movie. And,
John,
yeah.
Have you seen Pearl?
I have not. I saw that you posted about it.
It's so fucking good.
Is it really? Oh, good.
Yeah.
Oh, thank God.
Yeah, it's not the same kind of movie as this at all. It's a completely different movie-going experience, but what it is infused with is the same love of movies that we see here. Like X is, amongst all of the things that is, one of the things is it's a love letter to horror movies. It mentions horror movies that it loves. It Easter
That's
eggs.
True.
It does all of the things. Like, Ty West loves horror movies. And then Pearl is that, still more of that, but also a love of, like, the more classic cinema. So it's got a little bit more of musical number love, a little bit more The Wizard of Oz. It's very Wizard of Ozzy.
Oh, okay. It's got that kind of like almost child, like appealing to a child kind of fantasy element to it.
Yes, we get to see Pearl as a young person. It's all the way back before her husband had returned from World War I, and it's great. It builds off of this story, and it's a great movie in its own right. But it is exceptional as a prequel to X, which we are actually talking about today.
That's amazing. But these films together cost $10 million to make.
Wow.
And they've well outgrossed that.
Yeah.
So these are hits. I mean, there's Oscar talk for Mia Goth for her performances.
I mean, she's incredible.
She's phenomenal. She's already a very, unique person as far as like her well, even her acting style, but I was going to say her appearance. She has a very recognizable appearance. But she kills it. I mean, she's just so good in X. I haven't seen Pearl yet, but that sounds like that's going to be on the on the docket.
Oh yeah. In Pearl, she's she also co-wrote Pearl. Like it was a thing that she like co-developed with Ty West. So she had an enthusiasm for the character, and it is much more like Mia Goth is way more like at the center of every single scene in that movie than we get in this movie. In this one, there's a little bit more of like spread around spotlight, and this one is just like the Mia Goth show, and it's great. I mean,
X is the Mia Goth show as well, except she's splitting her attention between two different characters.
Yeah, so. Yeah, and it does a great job, especially when those two characters are hanging out.
Yeah. Oh man, it's a fine film. I highly recommend you guys check it out. I was really surprised. When I had started hearing about it, I was like, oh, another Ty West movie. I know I'll watch it, but it just sounds so derivative, and but whatever. I mean, I need to just relax and watch it, and then it came up on one of the services, and I got a hold of it, and it was great. Yeah, I loved it.
Yeah, it's fucking awesome.
It really is. It really is.
When we talked about it, I was like, oh yeah, I watched that. I didn't like it, but it was one of those cases where I'd watched it like not paying attention while doing other things over the weekend. Yeah. And actually like sitting down and paying attention, I was just like, wow, I'm an asshole.
It's really well made. I see when I watched it. Of course, I watched it on my TV, and it's in ultra high def, so it has that weird like. Looks like it was shot on a video camera look to it, like hyper realistic. And that I've adjusted to that effect now. The first time I saw it, I didn't even know what the hell it was. I was up, I don't know if I've mentioned this on the show, but I was up in northern Michigan, and they had a TV there, and it basically rained the entire time we were there. So one night I was up late and super drunk, and I was like, I'm going to watch a movie and see if there's anything good. And I watched Annihilation, but what I didn't realize is that it was in ultra high def. So when it came on, I was like, why does it look like they're in the room with me? Like it has this weird level of clarity that made it look like it was. I was like, it doesn't look like a movie. It looks like a whole different, a new type of media. It took me a while to adjust to it. Like I wasn't sure if I liked it, and now of course I've adjusted and it's fine. But every once in a while, something will come on, like when this movie first started and you see the cops walking around, and it was like, oh wow, that's super clear. Okay, I guess we're going with the ultra high def.
Is it so I have one. It says it's 4K, but it's one of those really cheap 4Ks where it's not actually, and so it turns everything dark and you can't see anything. Yeah. Is yours the one where if you then watch something that's not in ultra high def, it looks like 1980s British television definition?
No, things that aren't in ultra high def still look, they just look like they did on my regular TV before.
Okay.
They look fine, I mean, I can tell that some shows are extremely dark at times, including this movie, like visually. It was, but I couldn't tell. I was like, well, maybe that's just a creative choice. There's scenes where certain characters are on screen. As there's a whole chunk of the movie that takes place at night, and there's very few lights. Yeah. And they don't use a lot of studio lighting to make up for it, so it's just fucking dark. Yeah. You see shapes talking. It's like, okay.
Yeah. There's even very purposeful uses of shadow in this movie, which is
that's true.
Hilarious.
Yeah, there's a great shot that I think you're referring to, and I'll mention. Yeah.
So, on that note, should we dive right in with John's 500 of words?
My 500 of words, and I'm going to do that now. So, anyways, The movie opens and we see this farmhouse, which is obviously very reminiscent of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre farmhouse. There's cops there, and we see that there's like gore, and obviously this is a crime scene, and some really nasty crime has taken place. They go inside the house. There's a televangelist on the television preaching away the whole what's the word, like a hellfire and all that brimstone type stuff.
The youth these days.
Yeah, it's a little black and white TV because it's 1979, I guess. One of the cops says to the chief or the sheriff or whatever, "You got to come down here and see this." So they go down to the cellar, and you don't see what they're looking at. You just see their reaction, and they're just like, "God damn," or whatever. So, okay, cool. So we're going to see something interesting. We cut to the character Maxine, which is played by Mia Goth. She's doing coke in a strip club, and then we meet her boyfriend / manager / porn movie director / whatever the hell he is, Wayne, who is hilarious.
Yes.
And
yeah, this whole movie is hilarious. Like it doesn't set itself up as a comedy, but like there are laughs all throughout.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Wayne Gilroy.
Yeah.
So he comes in, and, they're talking about, like, "Are you ready to go? Let's go." And then they take off, and they outside in front of in front of the strip club is Wayne and Maxine, and then we see another stripper, Bobby Lynn.
Bobby Lynn.
And they load up into this weird van, and you get this thing at the bottom, Houston.
Yeah.
And you can see the strip club with the refineries in the background, and like a shot of downtown skyline back there. And, I've been to Houston a couple times, and it looks exactly like it.
Yeah, it looks like that place, Houston, Texas. Specifically, perhaps the southeast of Houston, where all the refineries be.
Exactly,
yeah.
But it's New Zealand.
Yeah,
it's so weird.
Even the strip club it's the Bayou Burlesque, and there's like a whole like swamp scene on it, but shot in New Zealand for a reason.
I was actually shocked when I read that because it looks like Texas.
Yeah.
I mean it looks like Houston. It was crazy. So, anyways, we see that it's 1979 in lovely American flag letters, and now we got this whole gang in the van. They're on the road. It's the whole crew that's going to make a porn movie. And they stop at a gas station, one of those podunk hillbilly gas stations. And we hear Maxine inside the station talking about how she wants to be famous. And, that's her goal in life, is to be famous. So her road to being famous is, well, the first step, I guess, and the next step is making the farmer's daughter porn movie with his crew here.
I'm a sex symbol.
Yeah. So they gas up, and at this we've got Wayne, Maxine, Bobby Lynn. Then there's Jackson Hole, played by Kid Cudi, yeah. And then the couple, the girl Lorraine who does the sound. That's Jenny Ortega. She's awesome.
She's amazing.
And the guy R.J. Nichols, played by Owen Campbell, is the cameraman.
Oh, and he's
that's the whole,
so uncomfortable looking.
He's so weaselly,
yeah.
too. So they hit the road again, and they come across a scene of where a semi-truck has hit a cow, and it's just absolute carnage on the road, and they have to kind of like drive through it, basically. Just
yeah,
it's disgusting. The cops are there, little foreshadowing, I guess, and then they arrive at this ridiculous Texas Chainsaw farmhouse, the one we saw in the opening. Wayne goes up to the door to talk to the guy that lives there. His name is Howard. He's an old man with a geriatra mullet. And Howard is obviously not, his memory's not great, so he grabs his shotgun because he thinks that they're coming from the government or something like that. And Wayne talks him down. In the meantime, Maxine is looking up at the window, and she sees an old lady looking down at her from the window. Great.
Yeah.
And then it's time to start making some porn. Howard takes them down to where they're going to stay, which is like a guest house further down on the property. sets him up, lets him know he doesn't like them.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of tension. He leaves. They start making porn. Maxine goes off to have a smoke. She finds this pond. She takes off her coveralls and jumps into the disgusting brown water and starts swimming. It's so gross. There's like scum on the surface and stuff.
It's not good swimming water. It is higher than human body temperature heat in there, and it is some sort of horrible potion.
It's basically bone broth.
Yes.
So, in the meantime, we see that old lady is outside. She's now snooping on Maxine, who's swimming naked. We get a big overhead shot, and then as Maxine decides to swim back to the dock, we see a gigantic alligator chasing her.
Mm-hmm.
In the meantime, Pearl's still watching. Pearl's the old lady, so the old lady's still watching. Maxine gets to the thing, gets out of the water at the last second. They make eye contact. They have a little wave off with one another, and then Maxine gets to the farmhouse basically by herself, and she's snooping around a little bit, and then Pearl comes in and confronts her, not like confrontationally. I mean, she just basically offers her lemonade.
Yeah.
So then you get these kind of like Brian De Palma style interspersed camera shots where like the Jackson Hole is sitting at the table in the guest house drinking lemonade at the same time that these ladies are drinking lemonade. And then you see Pearl starts telling her a little bit of her life story to Maxine, who is extremely uncomfortable. And then she, at one point, she touches Maxine, and Maxine is extremely uncomfortable. And then Howard shows up. He drives up because he had driven off at some point. So he drives up, and Pearl's like, "Go out the back. My husband's home." So she slips out the back door while Howard comes in the front door. That sounded gross. And then it's time for Maxine to shoot her scene for the porn movie. In the meantime, Howard now sees two lemonade glasses on the tables. He knows something's up.
No.
Maxine gets hopped up on some more cocaine and then has an extremely passionate and really believable sex scene with Jackson Hole on the floor of the barn.
Yep.
Which is great.
While we see Pearl looking in, like everyone's watching, the whole crew is there. You've got the boom mic, everyone's watching and filming it, and then we also see Pearl peeking in through the window watching Mia Goth scream in ecstasy. It's
so disgusting. Pearl prior to this, by the way, Pearl gives herself this makeover. She wants to look sexy like the young lady.
Mm-hmm.
And so Maxine's like, back at the porn scene, she's going completely all for it, and Pearl's watching. It's very disturbing. And then Pearl returns to the house afterwards, and now she wants sexy time with Howard, because seeing these young people has roused her desire. And we find out it's been a long time. Howard has a bad heart, and he shoots her down. He's afraid that he's gonna die if they fuck. So a fair fear.
Yeah.
So the crew has dinner, and then after dinner, they're having a discussion, and Lorraine, the boom mic lady, is asking a bunch of questions. They're kind of having a conversation about porn, and Lorraine is a little bit uptight, and so she's kind of asking them, don't you feel uncomfortable when you're watching your man or your lady have sex with another man or whatever, and it's all that.
Don't y'all believe in love?
Yeah, don't y'all believe in love? And she's like, well, of course we believe in love. And, you don't have to be in love to enjoy having sex. And so they have that whole, and it's, I guess that's like eye-opening for Lorraine, who apparently was raised in a shoebox. So she likes this idea, this free expression, liberation. She's obviously a little bit hogtied by good old RJ, the avant-garde filmmaker wannabe. We have this hilarious scene, another cut screen with one of them it's Bobby Lynn singing while Jackson Hole is playing guitar, they're doing Landslide by Stevie Nicks.
Yes.
And pretty much nailing it, actually.
Yeah. Well, so she's a professional singer. She's she's in a lot of musical things, and then
Brittany Snow.
Yeah,
is that
Brittany
right?
Snow.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
And then of course it's Kid Cudi, like Cudi.
Yeah,
Cudi?
he's great.
I don't know.
It's Cudi.
Kid Cudi.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yep.
And the soundtrack throughout this whole movie is great. Like they did earlier in the movie, they had In the Summertime by Mungo Jerry and Act Naturally by Loretta Lynn. It's it's perfect all throughout.
It's great. Yeah, George Jones. At the end, we get Robert Palmer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and then there's a great scene with Blue Oyster Cult. But,
Yes.
So anyways, so yeah, they do this little, like, it's almost like a little music video scene, and then and then you see, like, Pearl, who's, you hear the song about now I'm older and all this kind of stuff, and as you're seeing that, you're seeing shots of Pearl, who's checking out her skin, her old. She's older now. She's not young and sexy like these people.
Checking out her rack.
She's checking out her rack. And by the way, I really hope she hits us up, because we could set her up with a belt. So
something tells me she's not going to be hitting us up.
There won't be any hitting us up anytime soon from her.
Yeah.
So after all that stuff, which is great, by the way, that cinematically, that was a really awesome decision. But Lorraine is now intrigued, and she wants to do a scene. Of course, RJ's not excited about that. And in fact, he's like, no, you can't. Why? Because you can't. That's why. It's one of those kind of conversations. And so, of course, she's going to do it anyway, because RJ's a knob.
Yeah.
He can go fuck himself. And yeah, so right before she does it, she takes her cross necklace off, which is great.
she's wearing panties with the day of the week on them.
That's right. It says Sunday on them or something like that. Fantastic. She owns 7 pairs of underwear.
There's also this great part of it is Wayne. Wayne is like real quick with the dispensing of woman advice to RJ, and this is part of it. He's like, now look, man, she's gonna do this. So either you do it in this nice way around these nice people, or you do it in a grosser way, and she's gonna go on to do it over and over again, and no one wants that.
That's so great.
He's so disgusting throughout this whole movie. I love it. He did a great job.
He's fantastic. He has no morals whatsoever. He's great. So she climbs in bed with Jackson Hole, and they get it on.
Yeah.
And then we cut to later on that night, and RJ's in the shower crying like a little bitch.
It's so good.
Just completely bawling his eyes out. It's hilarious. He's so upset. He gets out of the shower, grabs the keys. He's going to steal the van, or take off with the van. So he hops in the van and he goes to take off, and all of a sudden Pearl is blocking his way. So he hops out and he's kind of like, "Are you okay, ma'am? Let's go do." And then she gets close to him. She kisses him, and they're in the headlights. It's really disgusting. You can hear "Don't Fear the Reaper" playing on the stereo. Oh, it's hilarious. Yeah, it's great. And he's obviously not into this, and he's grotesque. He thinks it's grotesque. He's like grossed out by her. So when he pretty much decisively pushes her away, she pulls a knife out and stabs him in the throat.
Yeah.
And then he falls to the ground. Help me! And then she does what I call fuck stabs him in the neck over and over till his blood splashes on the headlights of the van and the whole scene is red.
Oh, so good.
So good. And she just keeps just stabbing him over and over.
And
great.
We're seeing that he's still alive. Like, they keep showing it because, like, at that point I'd started to time it. The first kill of this movie doesn't start until the 59-minute mark, and it ends, like, right at the 1 hour mark.
Nice.
Yeah. So it's just a full 60 seconds of him getting stabbed and squirting blood and, like, trying to not be dead.
Oh, it's so good. Because she puts it in his neck and he falls to the ground with the knife still in his neck, and then she pulls it out and it just starts launching blood everywhere. And then, so she stabs him to death. She gets up and starts dancing.
Yeah.
Because, as we had heard, she had been, earlier in her life, she was a dancer. So she's doing this slow old lady dance covered in her nightgown, covered in blood. It was beautiful. And of course, Blue Oyster Cult is rocking it out.
Yeah. But then for her ballet, it switches to a song I don't remember in French, like, or not in French, but like a silly non-French song.
Yeah. Yeah, like some kind of, like a lullaby type thing or something, like more to do with her dancing.
And it's honestly beautiful. Like, that's one of the things, is this movie is a horror movie, and it's violent, and it's also funny, but then there's also these, like, really, like, deeply emotional connection points, and this is one of them. Like, we're horrified by what we just saw, but then it's like, oh, she's having a nice time.
Yeah, she's going through, it's a movie that literally is partially about aging and how difficult it is for a lot of people to accept that they're not the person that they used to be, which is a real serious thing.
Yeah, and about the like missing that youth and seeing it all around you, and it's great.
Yeah, it's like they're flaunting it in front of her, and she feels like, they're rubbing it in her face on purpose, when of course that's not what they're doing at all. Yeah. They just needed a place to, shoot their porn movie. But it's a perfect setup and for carnage. And so she grabs the van keys out, turns the van off, takes the keys. Lorraine wakes up in bed and realizes that RJ's not there and gets up to go look for him. Wayne meets her at the door to the building with his banana hammock on.
Yeah!
He's just standing there with his hands on his sides like, well, I guess I could help you go look for her.
Like, oh man, I hate this shit.
He's already like Ortega's character, Lorraine, I guess, she's standing like at ground level. He's already a little bit up because he's in the house. She's so short that her head is like right in front of his crotch. It's so wrong.
And he's just like hands on hips, Peter Pan style, just looking out at the night, thinking about whether or not to help her find RJ.
Oh, it's so good. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, in the meantime, so he goes to help her. In the meantime, Howard wakes up, and now he's looking for Pearl. So everybody's looking for someone else.
Yeah.
Wayne, he's off in the barn searching, and he's walking through the barn talking to himself, being Wayne, and he steps on a board with a huge nail, and it's disgusting.
Yeah, because he left. He decided to help her, and then he just exited the building barefoot, only wearing a thong, so nothing like. And he's walking through tall grass like a fucking idiot. Barefoot. Like, you're gonna be so covered in insect bites, even if you don't step on an old rusty thing on an antique barn. But just,
sticker burrs, animal shit,
fire ants.
Fire ants, yeah, all those things that I've heard they have in Texas.
Yeah, not giving fucks. This Houstonian guy.
Nary a fuck.
So yeah, he steps right on through a rusty nail.
Yeah, falls on the ground, he's in pain, and then he gets up and stumbles. He sees a shadow pass by the door, like the garage, or the wall to the barn, and he gets up and kind of stumbles his way over, and he's looking through one of the knots in one of the planks, and gets I think it's a screwdriver directly in his eye socket.
It's a pitchfork. It's
the pitchfork, because it gets both of them.
Yeah, it's 3 parallel holes, and we get to...
That's right.
We see him peeking through each hole one at a time, which I also think is a reference to an old dirty joke about the 3 holes in a barn, and how he sticks his dick through each one.
Wow, that's genius.
Yes.
I didn't even think of that. That's fantastic. Yeah, that's right. She does. She pitchforks him in the eyeballs.
Yep.
through or in the face, like one in each eye or whatever. It's a pitchfork that is able to adjust its width
Yes.
to fit the scene.
Yes.
So yeah,
And then later she comes back and pokes him some more.
yeah, she comes in, pokes him, like sticks it in him to see if he's still alive, and then just kind of casually starts pushing hay over his corpse. It's so good. Oh my god. Howard, Lorraine gets into the house and she runs into Howard. He locks her in the cellar. Well, he sends her down to the cellar to go get a flashlight. And as soon as she goes in there, he locks the door. So she gets the flashlight, comes up, door's locked. He's, of course, not answering the door. So she goes back down to see if maybe there's a way she can get out. And she discovers RJ hanging from the ceiling, just bloodied and just disgusting. Large wiener. That was surprising.
I want to interject. I don't think that's RJ.
You don't? You think that's someone else?
Yeah, because I tried to, because he's wearing these necklaces, and I couldn't find any scene where RJ's wearing those necklaces.
You're probably right. Yeah, actually, that's probably not him, because that guy is in really good shape.
Yeah,
not RJ.
He's built, and he has bullet holes in him, and
oh yeah, you're right.
His entire crotch is purple with bruising.
That's true. His pants are at his ankles.
Yeah, I think that's one of their previous guys.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, because RJ. Yeah, that's right. Wow, I didn't even catch that. That's brilliant. That's even better.
I think that guy was already down there when they showed up, and that was part of the whole "Are you from the county?" type thing.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, so she's stuck down there with this stinking corpse that I'm sure she would have smelled on her first trip down the stairs. But anyways, that's fine. Jackson Hole wakes up. Now he's going downstairs, and he's completely nude and walks into the doorway and sees Howard standing there with his shotgun, and they're having a little talk. And in the meantime, you get this great fucking shot of Jackson, who's backlit, again, with his hands on his sides, and his giant dick just swinging in silhouette between his legs. It was...
Every time he moves just a little bit, you see it, jiggle and swing.
Undulating.
And he's just talking to Howard and be like, oh yeah, I was in the Marines, I was in Vietnam, I can help you find your wife.
Yeah. Let me just go put my skivvies on.
Yeah. And he, being an actual, person, does go get dressed for walking around outside instead of what Wayne did.
Yeah. Wayne put nothing on except he already had his wiener hammock. So, yeah, that happens. So Jackson joins Howard, and they go off, heading off to the pond. Pearl has the only person left who's asleep, I guess, at this point. Well, no, I guess Bobby Lynn is, but Pearl finds Maxine in her bed, asleep, strips, crawls in bed with her, and is with her bloody hand is touching, very sensuously touching Maxine's body and smelling her hair with this raptured look on her face with her mouth open and stuff. It's very disturbing. Back to Jackson with Howard. They split up because Jackson was a Marine, so he could find anybody. And what he finds instead is a Volkswagen Bug with a hippie sticker on the bumper hidden in the marsh or in the brush or whatever. And then he sees Howard's flashlight kind of at the edge of the water. It's in the water. And he goes to, he goes and gets it. Howard's not there. Howard shows up and very abruptly murders him with a shotgun blast to the chest. It's amazing.
Yeah. After calling him a bohemian and accusing him of enticing his wife.
Yeah.
And just bam, right in the chest.
Oh, it's wonderful. Maxine wakes up and realizes what's going on and completely flips her shit. Runs screaming from the bed. Howard goes back to the house, and Lorraine has found a hatchet, and she's trying to hatchet her way out. She sticks her hand through it, and she's trying to... Her arm is an inch long, because she's a midget, so she's trying to open the sliding lock, and then Howard comes in and starts bashing her hand.
Oh, it's so brutal. Oh. You see the bone sticking out, and it's like there on the screen for like a good bit.
So she's not getting out of the cellar quite yet.
No.
So she remains in the cellar with her now destroyed hand, and this is so good. He cranks the televangelist on the TV up real loud so that you can't hear her screaming for people to come save her. Bobby Lynn is now out looking. She sees Pearl standing on the end of the dock. She freaks out because she's like, "Oh, honey, be careful, you're going to fall in the water, doodly-doo." And then they have a little confrontation, and it gets heated it goes from like helpful to heated very fast, and Pearl pushes Bobby Lynn into the water, and then Bobby Lynn immediately gets like just destroyed by that alligator. Apparently.
It chomps down on her head.
It was rough.
Yeah.
And then Pearl goes, "Bitch," and then walks away.
It's so satisfying. All of the kills in this movie are just exquisitely satisfying.
It's a very simple movie, but man, it just hits. It fires on all cylinders.
Yeah.
So Maxine now, Pearl and Howard are back together now, and they're heading back to the house to try to find Maxine. She's the only one left. Well, except for what's-her-nuts in the cellar. So
she's the only one unaccounted for.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So they go back to the house. Maxine sees them coming, and she hides. We don't know where she hides. We just know she hides. Pearl and Howard go upstairs to her room. She's not there. Pearl convinces Howard that they're going to fuck.
Yeah.
And so they... that she takes her thing or opens her thing or nightie, and he pulls his pants down, and then we have this great overhead shot. Well, first we see under the bed, of course, Maxine is hiding, and they're fucking, so the bed is like, it's like in every horror movie you've ever seen, someone's hiding under the bed and something's on the bed. In this case, it's old people fucking.
Yeah.
So then you get an overhead shot, a great shot, where Howard is just kind of plunging away, and Maxine is crawling out from under the bed to head out the door. It's a great shot. She gets out, does not take the shotgun, which I didn't really understand. Finds the remnants of the RJ murder scene by the van, goes into the glove box, pulls the pistol out that Wayne had in there. She goes and frees Lorraine, who immediately blames Maxine for everything and starts screaming at her, and Maxine is like, "Shut the fuck up. These people are out there." And, of course, Lorraine's not having any of it. So she runs out the door and is instantaneously just destroyed with a shotgun blast.
Yeah, she gets clotheslined with a shotgun to the side of the face.
It's so violent. Oh my God.
So violent and sudden, and like the framing of it is perfect because we just see her body like flip in the air.
It's like her head stops moving and everything else moves around that pivot point. It's really amazing.
Oh, man.
I was like, wow, that is perfectly done.
And it's so good because up to this point, like, you get this kind of which one is going to be the final girl thing, because, like, Maxine is not your typical final girl because she's, like, doing all of the sex and cocaine. But then Jenna Ortega at first seems like the innocent final girl, but then has this, like, turn, and then just, oh, okay, well, it's not her.
I guess we're going with Maxine.
Yeah.
So he doesn't realize that she's still in the house, and she overhears him talking to Pearl, and, he's talking about his plans, how they're going to hide the bodies. They're going to go dump them in the lake or the pond like they do with everybody. Apparently that's why the gator's so big.
Yeah.
So they start dragging Lorraine out, and he finally has his heart attack, which I thought was brilliant that he didn't have his heart attack while they were fucking. Like, Ty West let them have their last fuck, which I thought was great.
Yeah.
And then he kills Howard.
Yeah, and it's because Lorraine, who he thinks is dead, and he's like dragging Lorraine's body, all of a sudden like gurgles up blood, and that just like dead, slump over. So good, easily top 10 heart attack deaths in any movie ever.
It was fantastic. I'm so in love with this movie.
Yes.
So Maxine and Pearl are now having their little standoff, and in the meantime, you can hear the televangelist, and she's like yelling at Pearl, or yelling at each other, and Pearl eventually says, "I will not accept a life I do not deserve," which is exactly what the preacher is saying at the same time, or almost exactly the same time. What's her name? Pearl lifts up the shotgun to shoot Maxine. It backfires, essentially, and launches her out the door.
Yeah.
Another exceedingly violent scene.
Yeah. So it doesn't backfire. Like, we see it, like, the shot goes past Maxine and it, like, shatters a mirror.
Oh, it's just a kickback.
It's just the kick, and she goes rocketing back like that one scene in The Exorcist, where they actually, like, injured that nice woman. And she just rockets through the screen door and out into the yard, and it's just spectacular.
It really is. She must weigh like 1.5 pounds.
I don't think physics works that way, but
no.
It looks so good to watch.
It looks like somebody hit a croissant with a baseball bat.
Oh man, it's so good. You have to watch it. If you're listening to this and you haven't watched it, you have to go watch it. It's great.
Go watch it. It's fantastic.
There's this whole thing with the gun that she had. It never had any bullets in it. Right. So it was the whole thing where she tried to kill Pearl, and we knew that up front because the shotgun scene. Howard told Wayne, he's like, "There's not even any bullets in it. I just do it to scare people off." And Wayne's like, "I got a little gun in the glove compartment. I do the same thing with." And so, like, it was like this buildup of tension where we knew that gun wasn't gonna work.
Good stuff.
Oh, so good.
So Maxine, she's getting the hell out of here. And the whole time she's hopping in the van and getting ready to leave, Pearl's on the ground insulting her. "You whore. It's like just giving her hell. And Maxine backs up over Pearl's skull and just crushes it like a meat balloon. She bolts out of there in the van, and she's the final girl driving off, doing coke, screaming, "Divine intervention! Praise the fucking Lord!"
Yeah.
Beautiful. Then we go back and we see the preacher on the TV. We cut back to the house, and the preacher's talking, and then he talks about how he wants to find my missing daughter Maxine, and lifts the thing up off the photo, and it's her.
Yeah.
She's
got
the
the
daughter.
same freckles.
She's got that mottled patch of really thick freckles. A nice little touch there.
Yeah.
Didn't need to be there, but it was a nice touch. I liked it.
Yeah.
And then we're back to the very beginning, basically, where we see the cops, and one of the cops walks up. He's got the movie camera, and he says, someone says, "Well, I wonder what kind of movie they're making." And then the sheriff says, "Must have been a horror movie."
Yeah.
Something along those lines.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
We get the credits rolling to "Bad Case of Loving You," the Doctor song by Robert Palmer. Movie is over.
Oh man, it's so fucking good.
It's fantastic from start to finish.
The whole thing with the televangelist feels really added on, and I don't care. I love it. I love the fact that that's his daughter, and I love that it was there all throughout. It doesn't matter even a little bit, but it's great. It's a fantastic little style choice. Fucking awesome.
It'll probably, be a big issue in XXX, or XXX, or however they're going to say it, since there's already XXX.
It's Maxine. It's just
that's
Maxine.
right, Maxine with 3 X's, right?
Yeah.
That's it, yeah. I'm sure that'll be a focal point of that whole... Because, it's funny, because at first, the first time I watched it, I thought that televangelist, at first, was real. And then, of course, after a little while, it was obvious that it was an actor, but it was done so well. And that was one of the things that I read about, the making of this movie is... he talked about how hard some of the stuff was, like getting a van in New Zealand that had a steering wheel on the normal side, and then they had to paint it so it looked, old and American, and put that stupid business name on the side. And
it was really hard to find a van in New Zealand with the steering wheel on the American side and just already said plowing service on it.
That's right, plowing service. And, I mean, as far as the locations, the only time where because I was looking for it once when I watched the movie knowing that it was made in New Zealand, the only time I could really tell, to be honest, was at the pond. There's this line of trees that, whoever literally owns the pond in real life, they planted a row of these trees, and it's a type of like semi-tropical tree that you just don't see here, even though we are semi-tropical. Or
I mean, some people that live around there are not semi-tropical.
So, yeah, anyways. Dear God. Yeah, so this is the same guy that made the Jonestown movie. The Sacrament, which is, a pretty note-perfect take, like fictionalized take on what actually happens there. If you're someone who doesn't know that story as well as I do, then that movie would probably be really disturbing. I know the story of Jonestown way too much. I've spent too much time looking into it. So watching the movie was like, that's his version of it. That's fine. I didn't really like it. He did The Innkeepers, which was, a ghost story taking place in an old hotel. The setting was great. The performances were good. I just didn't really like it. Yeah. And then he did the House of the Devil, which I liked a lot more.
I enjoyed that movie, yeah.
That was a great one. And explain that, go too far into that in case. Yeah, we probably won't cover it. But anyways, it was that one I liked.
He also did the sequel to Cabin Fever, Cabin Fever 2, Spring Fever.
That I have not
of course, he did the anthology circuit. His segment was Second Honeymoon in VHS, and M for Miscarriage in the ABCs of Death.
Oh yeah, that's right. I was going to add VHS 99 to the shit I watched.
Oh, it's so fucking good.
It was. I was surprised.
Yeah. Yeah, it was great. It was we've got so much. This has been a great year, and especially a great Halloween season of horror movies and other horror movie related things. It's just fucking awesome, everything that we have right now.
I watched so much stuff that I was like, I'm not even gonna write it. I'll just write the highlights down. Yeah, because there was just so much. There's just so much. It's hard to keep up with it all.
It's so good.
It's
the
amazing.
World is terrible, and horror movies are great.
What a great time to watch horror movies.
Yeah, what a great time to get away from the world with horror movies.
Man, but back to this movie.
This one.
I was really impressed. I went in expecting, just kind of schlocky, dumb entertainment, and it's a little bit more of an art film than that. I mean, if only because of Mia Goth's performance, but it has more to it than that as well. And all the different layers, which are fairly simple. I mean, it's not some heady movie where you have to be some intellectual or pseudo intellectual to appreciate it. Anybody could like this movie. Just people who and her performances as Pearl and as Maxine are amazing.
Yes.
As both, really. I mean, it was... Her depiction of Pearl was phenomenal to me because, they did a really good job of not overexposing her makeup so that you couldn't see, the lines or the, like one of the things I saw was Crimes of the Future the other day, which I loved, but a lot of the makeup effects, you can see where the latex is blended to the tissue, to the real skin. You can see the prosthetics and stuff because it's so well lit. You can just see it. It's impossible to make that stuff vanish unless you use CGI, and then why do it?
Yeah.
And that's okay. I'm happy with that because I like real makeup effects. But in this case, instead of taking away from her performance for, like taking you out of your suspension of disbelief by looking for the seams in her costume, there aren't any because you can't see them. She's in enough shadow, that there's times where you can recognize her face, maybe just facial structure or whatever, but
yeah,
her performance is so good. She's believable. Like, she even moves like an old person. It's amazing.
Yeah, they did a great job. And it is, like, there's a little bit of that, like, uncanny valley, like, what made the Six Flags dancing elderly gentleman so horrific.
Yes.
There's a little bit of that to both of them. I also thought it was weird that Howard, they did the same thing with Howard. That's also a whole bunch of prosthetic, but then it's not one of the other actors playing both roles. It's Stephen Ure, the guy that plays all the good orcs. But I mean, he did a great job too. But yeah, it's like you know that that's not actually an old person that looks like that, but they pulled it off in a way that very no other movies have.
Yeah, I think maybe part of the trick to that was, I mean, with her it was just a great performance. With him, it was more of a caricature, but it worked, I think, because they didn't put a lot of emphasis on it. He's just an old guy, It's not like they spent 10 hours doing some sort of, acting class with this guy so that he was an old dude, and you just accepted him as, he fit in the setting so perfectly, that ridiculous mullet that he had.
And that one front tooth.
Yes. The only time that the effect was a little bit ruined for me was when they showed his eyes lit up close, and they were, like, super yellow. It just looked fake, and I was like, all right, well, that's fine.
Yeah.
But that's a very minor complaint. Overall, this movie is fantastic.
Yeah, and one of the things that I wanted to call out is, like, all of the great foreshadowing, like you talked about them rolling the tire through the cow guts, and then later it's Pearl's head that is rolled over. There's also the Bayou Burlesque, the strip club that they start at. The whole back of it is a mural that the camera focuses on for a long time, and on the mural is a blonde stripper that is being attacked kind of by an alligator that's, like, pulling her bikini bottom down, like on the suntan lotion. And then that's a foreshadowing to the fact that she's gonna get chomped by an alligator towards the end of the movie. And it's all throughout the whole thing. Like, the Blue Oyster Cult song playing right before the first kill. It's just all over the place great. There's also this fantastic tension between Jackson and Howard, where it's like a will they won't they of like veteran camaraderie. That's a tension just for us, and then of course it ends in a no, they won't, in fact. But it's just so good, and there's so much, like, subversion of tropes. That's one, like, where Jackson's character seems like he would just be the empty-headed pothead guy from these types of movies, and instead he's like this, like, honorable guy that's, like, out there in the middle of the night helping a guy find his wife because he's scared that his wife might be lost or confused or fallen, and just everything in this is he plays with tropes, he plays with all of the bits that directors use, and he just put it all together wonderfully.
Absolutely. And he makes it look so fluid too. Like, it the first time you watch it, you could be like you could be excused or forgiven for thinking that it was just something that they just threw together. But when you by the time you're done with the movie, you realize, there a lot of thought went into it. I mean, there's, but it doesn't have that forced, it's not pretentious at all. And it could have easily been, I mean, Mia Goth playing both characters could have gone south very easily if it was the wrong actress.
Oh man, yeah, it's great. I want to call out real quick, Martin Henderson, the guy that plays Wayne. He's been in other movies and stuff, but I want to call it the fact that he played Britney Spears' boyfriend in the music video Toxic.
Whoa. Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
that was like a major point in his career, was the Toxic music video.
Woo! Wow, that's
I love
crazy. Wow,
Yeah.
I had no idea.
I hope this will catapult him into bigger starring roles because he's great in this. All of them are great in this. Like, we didn't really hit on Martin Henderson or Brittany Snow as much, or even Kid Cudi, but like they all did a great job.
I mean, Kid Cudi's a rapper, for Christ's sake, you know?
Yeah.
Like, he just nailed it. An underground rapper originally. I mean, he's a big star now, but, you know, he was just I remember, because I had his first album, I heard it somewhere, and I really liked it and bought it, and I used to listen to that record a lot, and then I kind of forgot about the guy, because I just didn't keep up with him. And then all of a sudden, I was reading about this movie, and I'm like, wait, Kid Cudi's in this movie, and he plays a porn star? This is amazing!
Yeah.
And his name is Jackson Hole.
Jackson Hole.
That's genius.
Yeah. Oh man. So John, if you had to rate this movie on a scale of, I don't know, nothing, meaning that it's not a horror movie and not worth anything, to maybe V,
Whoa.
where would you put it?
I gave it in numerical form.
In Arabic numerals.
Yes, in Arabic numerals. I gave it a 4.5.
4.5?
Yeah, I don't think it's a 100% masterpiece, but that may only be because it's a new film. And I have a feeling over the years, if I am still alive, that I'll probably return to this movie repeatedly. I mean, it's one of the few movies I've watched where I've like, I would like to own this movie. Usually I just don't have a need for that. I first of all, you can usually find whatever you want to watch on some kind of service. And I don't like, I don't need more crap in my home, but I love this movie. I think it's great. It fires on all cylinders. I think the only thing that kept me from giving it a 5 was just that it's new. That's it.
Yeah.
And I think it's gonna stand the test of time and, be a little, probably like you said, I think it's going to catapult West's career, even though he's already kind of known, but it might get him closer to the mainstream, which hopefully translates okay for him. And, he's allowed to be as creative as he wants to be if he gets there, because obviously he's capable of some really amazing work. So.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's obvious that at least A24 has, let him off the leash. They're like, yeah, go do it. Do the things.
Yeah. So how about you? What rating did you give?
I gave it the full V. I was hoping you would too. That way it would be an X, but it's okay. I mean, I wouldn't change a single thing about this movie.
That's true.
There is no creative choice that I thought was ill-placed or ill-executed on or in any other way ill anything. It's perfect from beginning to end, and maybe I'm just a sucker for A24 movies because this is like the third A24 in the last few months that I've given a 5 out of 5 to, so,
I mean, it's the least A24-y of the A24s.
That's true. And, all of the headiness, all of the, elevated horror that people like to hate about, it's all, right there on the screen. It's thought-provoking, but it's not like you have to, you would have to do academic research to get there. It's, all there for you to think about right there, and then move on with your day, it's got the ageism thing, it's, that thought of the impermanence of youth, it's all there, it's all great, it's, for me, it's an example of a perfect horror movie.
Yeah, I mean, I pretty much have to agree. I think that, it's crazy. Yeah, the ageism thing, as we had mentioned, I mean, it could have easily, gone completely south, but at the same time, they don't beat it into the ground either. It really works, and it's kind of a bold thing to do because, first of all, Ty West isn't that old. And neither is the overwhelming majority of his audience. I'm probably reaching the top end of the age bracket for people who watch Ty West films. And I'm closer to Pearl's age probably than the people in the porn movie. So, it's like, I can relate to getting older and not having the same exact facilities that you thought just felt like they were going to be with you for, like, things you didn't even think about are now a big part of your day.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, why does this hurt? I didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah, your general state day to day is what are the exact combinations of things that hurt.
Exactly. But yes, kudos to Ty West, man. That was a fucking riot. I'm totally gonna watch Pearl later today.
Oh yeah, it's very worth it. It's currently out there. I think it's like $20 to get it digitally, but it's the best investment that you'll make today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
It's
What were you
great.
gonna say?
Oh, I was gonna say, we've got a few minutes we can play with. If you had to pick one other thing that you've seen over the last 2 weeks that you would recommend to audiences, what would that one thing be?
Well, you already know what it is.
I don't know. It could be anything. You've seen so much.
I have. It's Panos Cosmatos' The Viewing from Guillermo del Toro's A Cabinet of Curiosities.
It's very good.
Episode number 7, out of 8. It's easily, without even having to think about it, the best horror film I've seen all year.
Yeah. It's really, really good.
It just got better and better and better, and then it was just like orgasmically great at the end. It was just like wow, this is amazing.
Yeah, a great cast of actors in there, of comedic and serious actors. When I saw Eric Andre, I was like, oh, what is this going to be? And then it just keeps building up on that, and it's great all the way through.
It was wonderful. At first I was like, wait, how is he going to Panos Cosmatos Eric Andre? He totally does it.
He cosmosed all over that Panos.
Everyone in that is great, and they're all people that I really like. Like, I mean, there's a couple people that I didn't. I recognized the big tall guy is supposed to be the writer. I didn't really recognize the new agey guy, but he was great too.
No,
of course, Peter Weller is phenomenal, and
yeah.
I forget her first name, but Yi, is it Michelle Yi? And it was great to see her playing a character a kind of character that I could see her playing, but in a movie that I would have never in a million years thought she would be in. Like, I don't know who does the casting for this dude, and I don't know if it even matters. He just seems like he's the kind of guy that gets the best out of everyone.
She's going to be in the new television version of Time Bandits.
Oh, wow.
Let's see. Yeah, I know. I'm excited for that. Puppet Master, The Littlest Reich.
I did not see that. Full Moon.
She's been in tons of things. Oh, she was in Cloverfield. She was in Knocked Up is where I was thinking of. She was the
girlfriend.
Yeah, the always high girlfriend.
Yeah, that's right. Okay. Oh, she's genius. Okay.
Yeah.
That's right. How about you? What if you had to pick?
I am gonna go outside of the genre because just last night I watched Weird, the Al Yankovic story.
Oh, really?
And it is amazing. I'm going to make it the final CD I ever purchased. They have a soundtrack to the movie, which in itself, the existence of that soundtrack is hilarious, and it's just the greatest thing ever.
Wow, that's phenomenal. I mean, I'm not surprised. I'm glad.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I think it's a great choice to play Weird Al because he's so not Weird Al, but he's perfect as Weird Al. It's great.
He's perfect as Weird Al, and honestly, it is a great. It was like Weird Al is in it. He plays a record studio executive.
Of course he does. That's fantastic.
It's the best of its kind since UHF.
Nice. Very nice. Oh, that's awesome. Well, I'll totally watch that then.
Yeah, it's free. I'm gonna have to plug it. It's the only thing. It's on Roku. It's free. You have to watch commercials. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Not the commercials part, but that's great.
Yeah. But I was also like, you know what? I'll watch these commercials. They need some money for this to do more of it.
Hey, it's great stuff out there, guys. We had mentioned VHS 99. It's great. It was a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah. VHS 99. Fantastic.
Yellow Jackets. I love that first season of that series. It reminded me a lot of Lost, but with a lot of like awesome female actors. It's pretty much almost an all-female cast. And then Crimes of the Future. I really enjoyed it. It's pretentious as hell, but it's David Cronenberg. That's what you expect, you know?
Yeah.
And it delivers. It's full Cronenberg body horror times a million. It's ridiculous. It's terrible and great at the same time, like all Cronenberg.
Yes. So many ears.
Oh. Yeah, he's I don't know. Anyways, there's great stuff out there, guys. Go watch it all.
Go watch all of the things, and if you still haven't, definitely watch X and watch Pearl, and make sure that the movie studios know that you want to see Maxine.
Absolutely. And in the meantime, I really am just devastated that you are all going to have to die.